Okay, right. So this is no data found exception. And second one is what now? What is the second one? Two underscore many underscore rows. Okay, so this exception name, where you want to use this exception name means, for example, let me come out and see. Suppose I'm going to design one table now, one sample table we are designing. Okay, let me see. So create table, the table name is tester. So name and salary I was taken. Okay, this is one sample table and I'm inserting into this table one employee data. Okay, so we are sending here. Okay, some name is Ellen and salary was 15,000. So this is one record in the table. Okay, now in my table, how many rows we have? Only one row. So when I was fetch the data from this table by using of select into statement, and we already know in the early classes, select into statement will always returns a single value or a single row. Can you remember now? So single value or a single row. So now we can see I'm going to declare and one of my columns sal and its number type. Okay. After begin, then I'm using select into statement to retrieve my salary that I want to store under vsal and from the table was test. So because single value I want to retrieve here, so I'm giving this. And after that dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of v underscore sal. And finally end. So in your table, you have only single row or in a column single value. So your value was immediately returns to us. Okay, na? So here nothing problem is there. So my value will be written by your PLSQL program or PLSQL. Okay, written by your value. Because of reason in this table, we have only one value. So that one value was returns. But suppose I'm going to insert another record into my test table. Okay, sending values, for example, Jones and 25,000. So after sending this, now check it out. How many, okay, rows we have in the table? Two rows. We have a two rows now. So when your table is having more than one row, at this moment, we are using select into statement to fetching your data from your table. Then what it was returns? Exception. Because of reason, select into statement is always a retrieve or return only single row or single value. But unfortunately, in my table, how many rows? Two rows are there. In my salary column, how many values? Two values are there. That means more than one value was there. Understand now? And this time, okay, suppose you can go the same program. I'm going to writing here. Okay, the same thing. If I'm writing now, what happened? You can see it was showing error. So what is my exception here? Exact fetch returns more than requested number of rows. So whatever we are fetching rows, that was having more than requested number of rows. So in your table, more than request number of rows are there. Okay, na? So this exception will be occur at line number 4. So line number 4 here. Okay, so while select into statement is always fetching a single row, but your table is having multiple rows. So multiple rows cannot fetch by select into statement. Okay, now, so this is what my exception will be occurred. Right down below. Too many rows. What do you say? By using select into statement, by using select into statement, when we fetch, when we fetch more than one, fetch more than one row from a table, then Oracle server then Oracle server return an exception is so what is my exception here? Okay, so and the program is also so next we are writing to overcome the above exception, Oracle provide a predefined exception name. A predefined exception name is, what is your exception name? To underscore many underscore row. To underscore many underscore rows. Okay, so how to use now? Solution for this. Uh, so now come out and see. So same program, and I have in my table two rows. Okay. Now let me come out and see. So declaration, variable, execution block, select, and DBMS. Then after we are passing what now? Exception. And here, what is my exception name? Too many rows. Okay. So then what I want to say, DBMS underscore output dot put underscore line of some user friendly message. What is the user friendly message? Okay, a table is having more than one row. Okay, na more than one row, and end here to execute. So yes, my table is having more than one row. So immediately, once I executed this program, what it was happened, a table is having more than one row. Some user-friendly messages are passing to us, and PLSQL procedure successfully complete. Suppose from my table, suppose your table is there now. So select a star from test table. So if anyone record, I'm deleting now, delete from test. So where ename is equals to suppose ln or anything deleted. And after deleted, now how many rows? Okay, single row. And now in this case, now we can see my program. If I'm using my exception block and statement, and now we can see to execute now, your row will be printed. How much here? 25. So if you have a single value returns, but more than one is there, it returns exception. And that exception we handle and giving some user defined message. Got it now? Right down below. Okay, right. This is the way too many rows exception we want to use. And the next one is 0 underscore divide. Okay. Now this exception, when I want to use this exception class, when my division is equals to 0. For example, let me come out and see. Okay. Are you writing one small program here for X? Okay, some variables I'm declaring now, like Y, and same as Z. There are three variables I declared now and begin. So X is equals to ampersandage of X for dynamic variables I'm declaring here. So ampersandage of Y. And what I'm saying here, Z is equals to X by Y. And dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of now I want to say Z value and end close. Here you can see the dynamically asking X value. Suppose I was given 10 and Y value is called 5. So Z is equals to 10 by 5. 10 by 5 means what is your output? 2. It's okay. Second number 0, 10 by 0. 10 by 0 means what now? 0. Same thing in Java we called as a arithmetic exception. Okay, na? So same here. So this exception I need to handle. Understand na? Right down below. So when we perform, okay, division by 0, division by 0, then Oracle returns, then Oracle server return an exception. An exception is, so what is an exception is here? Okay, Ora, okay, divisor is equals to 0. So now example of this program you can take. And here also you can see my exceptions occurred at which line? 8. Line number 8 means year. Understand now? Okay, so below write down to overcome the above exception, Oracle provide a predefined exception name. What is the exception name here? 0_divide. Okay, so now I want to use here the how I can so come to your so now you can see. So now you are adding here exception block, and my exception is 0_divide. If it is occurred, then user friendly message you can pass now, or put underscore line of what do you want to say? Second number should not be what? 0. So second number means y value. Y value should not be 0. Okay, fine. Now 10, the 10 by 2. So 5 it was come to you, and 10 by 0. Then you can see your exception is handle and sending some user-friendly message. Second number should not be 0, and PLSQL procedure is successful. Okay, now, right. This is how we can handle your 0_divide exception. Right now. Okay, right. So now these are what the predefined exception. Same as invalid cursor already open. That already you know cursor programs. Okay, now can you practice now? Yes or no? I was given in the main material. You just write that. Okay. So these are what predefined. But in this predefined exceptions, can you see here in every program, can you see I was using some specific exception name? Yes or no? So it means that when the programmer can use this specific exception name, when I can use, when I know the exception. So programmer should know it. Okay, what kind of exception is occurred in the program? Based on that exception, we are using the related exception name. Understand? Na? If no data found is came, the related exception is what? No underscore, data underscore, found exception we are using. Next, too many rows, more than one row fetching. Then the related exception is what now? Too many rows I'm using. Divisor is equals to 0. Then related exception is what now? 0 underscore divide. Cursor connection is not open. Then it was coming invalid cursor. Cursor connection is not closer. Then it was coming cursor already open. So when exception, if I know, then only the related exception name I'm using and handling. Yes or no? That means exception when the programmer will know, after execution or before execution? After execution. So that means first I'm writing my program is going to be executed. So after execution, otherwise while execution time, I will find my exception. What kind of exception is there? Okay, now. So based on that, we are adding exception block. That's okay. This is one mechanism. But why should I want to apply like this? Okay, if I'm going to writing means, can you tell me the same program, how many times I'm writing? 2 times. First, without exception block, because I don't know. That's why just I'm writing a program. Just I'm writing a program without exception block. After executing of this program, when I was found an exception, then what I want to do based on these exceptions to handling purpose, again the program is writing by using of what now? Exception block. Okay, so here 2 times we need to performing here. But the question is, why should I want to write like this for every program? At the time of program writing only, I can use my exception. Understand now? For example, you are writing try catch. You're writing try catch along with program development. Can I write? Or else program writing, executing later try catch is applied. No, na? So directly try catch can apply in my program before execution? Yes or no? Yes. So same here also, before execution of my program, I don't know what kind of exception is occurred in the program. Okay, na? At that time, how to apply your exception block? Now in this programs, exception block is applied after execution. But now before execution of my program, if I want to apply my exception block, then how I can apply? Okay, na? That is a question mark. Second one is what now? When I was apply exception block, it means that compulsory exception name should be give it us. Yes or no? Suppose this exception name I don't know. If I don't know what kind of exception name here, I don't know, then your exception block will be fulfilled? No. Compulsory we should give a exception name. Then only your program exception block will be performed. If you're without exception name, if I'm writing like this, your exception block will not perform. So when I'm using exception block, it means that what? It means that what? Compulsory exception name should be passed. Then only that block will be handle your exceptions. Otherwise, no use. Understand now? But sir, okay, I'm writing program. While I'm developing program only, I'm using exception block. But what can I write here? Because I'm using this exception block when it is before execution, at the time of programming code development level. So once I'm writing my code, I'm using exception block directly. So at this moment, how I knows which exception class name I want to give here? We knows that? We don't know. So we don't know 0 underscore divider, some other cursor already open, some other value underscore error, or some other too many rows, some other no data found. I don't know because I'm not executing this program. This is before execution. So without knowing the exception name, and also in my program which type of exception is occurred, that's we know. That we know? No, we don't know. So we don't know what type of exception is occurred in my program. First thing, when I don't know, can I write my exception block? We can't write. That is another problem. So in these cases, when you don't know which type of exception is occurred in the program, programmer doesn't know, but I want to apply exception block at the time of development, at the time of writing a program. So in these two cases, how I can overcome this kind of situation? Means in your Java are using one class. Can you remember? Exception superclass is there in Java. Give me response here. There are not there. There na. What is the use of exception superclass? To handle any type of exception. So whatever it was occurred, I don't know. I'm writing my program and I'm using what? Exception superclass in my program. If I'm using exception superclass in my program and I just leave that program, in the program, any type of exception is occurred, automatically handle. It may be any type of exception. That's called an exception superclass. So exception superclass, when I'm using in my program, I don't know what kind of exception is occurred in my program. So when programmer doesn't know it, what type of exception is occurred in the program, then simply apply exception superclass. If you apply exception superclass, what is the advantage of the programmer? If any type of exception is occurred, it automatically handling and giving some user-friendly message. That's it. Again, I don't want to, which exception I want to remember, which exception name I want to use. It's not necessary if you use a simple exception superclass. So here also, in PLSQL also, the PLSQL developer or programmer, when he was writing a program, okay, when he was writing a program, so then he was using exception block with the exception superclass. How we are using exception superclass, here also we have some properties are there, some methods are there. With the help of that methods that can handle any type of exception. Okay, now at this moment, user no need to know which type of exception is occurred in the program. First thing, user no need to remember what exception class name I want to use here. I don't know. So without knowing anything about your exception, if I want to handle, then I can use some predefined methods in PLSQL, and in Java, you people are using exception superclass. Understand now? And those exception superclass, how it was working in your Java, same as in my PLSQL, there are two properties are there that is called SQL code and SQL ERRM. SQL code, SQL ERRM. ERRM means error message. Okay, na? So with the help of these two properties, okay, na, it can handle any type of exception. And user no need to remember any exception class names. Okay, na? So what is this SQL code? Here, observe carefully. SQL code, okay, it returns, otherwise I want to write something. So what I want to say, these are These are predefined properties. These are predefined properties which will use to handling, which will use to handling an exception, to handling an exception, okay, which was raised in a PLSQL program, in a PLSQL program. Okay, so and here this point is very important. When we use, okay, SQL code and SQL ERRM, code SQL ERRM properties, then we must use an exception. Okay, an exception name is what is an exception name? Others. And we must use an exception name is others under exception block. Okay, this is mandate. And here SQL code, what it was returns. Okay, here SQL code is written. Can you find out, guys, here every exception is having some error number. Can you see? Here, see, user is equals to 0 or minus 0476. This is called a exception code, exception number. Like any program, you can see here also having some number. Here also you can see having some number. So those numbers are written by SQL code. Okay, so what I'm saying here, it returns an exception number. And SQL ERRM. Okay, here what it was written, it returns an exception message. So here others is working like a exception superclass. Okay, now we can see same program. Let me go. Okay, same program. Now here observe. Here I just written, but at the time of program, okay, I'm using exception block also, but I don't know which exception name. So that's why what I want to use others. And when you are using others, okay, you compulsory write your SQL code property. One thing you can pass. And the second one is, okay, second one is what now? DBMS underscore output dot put underscore line of SQL ERRM. So these two properties are you need to use. Okay, na? So when programmer doesn't know exception, what type of exception is occurred in my program. When you doesn't know, then you can use these two properties along with the others exception name. So if I'm using this, what happened in your program, any type of exception is occurred, it will be handling. Now you can see I'm using, so carefully observe the 10 by 2, it's 5, nothing problem, but 10 by 0, then it was a problem. But still, what it was happened, your SQL code. What is my exception number? Minus 0 is a common. So 1476. And what is exception error message? Divisor is equals to 0. So that means in this program, which exception is handled by your system? 0 and 0 is, divisor is equals to 0. Exception is successfully handling. Understand now? You're not showing any error. Already handling, and which exception is handling that information showing to user. Okay, now? So this is the advantage of what now? Code and ARRM. Just apply. And when these two things are applied, compulsory which class? Others class we can use. Clear? Write down below. So it was automatically handled and giving us. Okay, so now these are some predefined properties, predefined exception names. But same as when we want to create, okay, our own exception name, then how we can create it. So now take siding, user defined exception. Okay, so these exception names are created by users. So we will create our own exception names, and that will be rise and also handle, and whenever we required. Okay, na? So what we can say here, these exceptions are, otherwise, wait. When we create our own exception name, our own exception name to rise and handle, to rise and handle an exception, okay, an exception in a PLSQL block or in a PLSQL program, a PLSQL program. Okay, then we called as user defined exception name or user defined exceptions. Okay, next one. To create a user defined exception name, to create a user defined exception name. Okay, so then we follow the following three steps. Then we follow the following three steps procedure. Okay, now, so what is my step number one? So step number one, declared user defined exception name, declared user defined exception name. So how to declare? So now syntax will be there. So here I want to give my user. Okay, shortcutly I'm writing user defined UD, user defined exception name. Okay, here exception is a predefined statement. So whenever you want to create your user defined exception, should be take a exception statement. Step number two. So rise a user defined exception name. Okay, so whenever you want to rise this, there are two statements are there. Okay, first statement I'm using rise statement. It's a one thing. And in this is this statement, what it will do to rise an exception, and handling an exception, Okay, so in a PLSQL block, So rise statement, what it will do, rising and also handling. Okay, now that is the statement purpose. Second statement is there, rise underscore application underscore error. So your number argument comma message. Okay, this is another statement we have. This statement, what it will do means that it will be rising to rise an exception, but not handling an exception. So it was rising, but not handling an exception. Okay, now, so this function or method is having, okay, this method is having two arguments. Arguments are, what is the first argument? Number. First argument is what? Number. So this argument was going to be sent here, okay, to assign user defined exception number. So can you remember previously every exception is having some number, and those numbers are predefined. Okay, now these numbers are user defined or predefined? This number is user defined or predefined? Predefined. Same as now I want to give my own number. I want to assign to my exception. So there you can use number argument to assign user defined exception number. And your number must be, okay? Number must be from which range must be from minus 20,001 to 20,999. Okay, your number, user defined number must be in between. Understand na? Next one is what now? Message, another argument. So message, what it will say? To assign user defined error message. To assign user defined error message. Okay, now, so these are the two arguments. Okay, we can apply in this rise underscore application underscore error, and having two arguments, that argument's purpose. But here this statement, what we said, to rise an exception but not a handling. Then you have a question, sir, if it is not handling my exception, then why we want to use? Okay, that question will come to you. I will explain the program, why it was needed. Okay, right. And next is step number 3. What is my step number 3? Okay, to or is handling exception with a user defined exception name. Handling exception with user defined exception name. What is the syntax for this? What is the syntax for this? My syntax is, so you have to start your exception block, and when here you can pass user defined exception name. Okay, now then, and send your what is now statement. Okay, statements, and finally end close. Okay, now so these are what we called as here, and here I forgot it in the rise. Okay, what is the syntax for rise? So okay, I want to use rise and sending user defined exception name. This is second okay step. And here also, suppose what is the syntax for this? Okay, the syntax is, rise underscore application underscore error of some user defined number UD number and user defined message. Okay, these are the two arguments. You can pass it. And number must be 20,001 to 20,999. Yes. Now take these 3 steps. Completed this. Step 1. Step number 2. Completed? So now this is user defined exception names. When we create these 3 steps will be follow it. Okay, no? But how these are, okay, we will see in tomorrow's session. I will show you some examples. Okay, no? Right. How the user defined exceptions are we want to create and rise and handle. Okay, right, guys. Yesterday notes I uploaded uh 1 second. Okay. Okay, guys. So I was uploaded complete notes. Okay, na? Right, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. And online students having any queries, stay there and send your queries.
టేబుల్ నేమ్స్ ఉన్నాయి కదండి సార్. ఇప్పుడు ఇవి 3 ఆల్ఫా న్యూమరిక్ నేమ్స్ ఉన్నాయి కదా. నంబర్స్ ప్లస్ ఆల్ఫాబెట్స్ మిక్స్ అయ్యి
ఎక్కడ ఉన్నాయి?
తేజ 3, 1 విశ్వ, కుమార్ మధ్యలో ఆల్ఫాబెట్స్ తో పాటు నెంబర్స్ మిక్స్ అయ్యాయి కదా. ఓన్లీ ఈ నేమ్స్ ఈ 3 మాత్రమే డిస్ప్లే అవ్వాలంటే కమాండ్ ఏం వాడాలి? క్వెరీ మొన్న ఎగ్జామ్ లో అడిగాడు సార్. ఒకటి ఇట్లా ఒక 5 నేమ్స్ ఇచ్చాడు. 5 నేమ్స్ ఇచ్చేసి స్టార్టింగ్ లో ఒక నెంబరు, నెంబర్స్ లాస్ట్ లో ఒక నెంబరు, మిడిల్ లో ఒక నెంబర్ ఇచ్చేసి కింద అవుట్పుట్ డిస్ప్లే చేసేది సార్. ఈ 3 ఆ 3 డిస్ప్లే చేయాలంటే క్వెరీ ఏం రాయాలని అడిగాడు. నార్మల్ గా సింగిల్ లెటర్ కి ఒకదానికి వాడేది అయితే మనం లైక్ ఆపరేటర్ షార్ట్కట్ క్వెరీ పర్సెంటేజ్ వాడి రాసేస్తాం కదా.
ఈ నెంబర్స్ సేమ్ ఇచ్చాడా డిఫరెన్స్ ఇచ్చాడా?
డిఫరెంట్ డిఫరెంట్ నెంబర్స్ ఇచ్చాడు.
డిఫరెంట్ నెంబర్స్ ఇచ్చాడా?
ఇక్కడ మన నరేష్ ఐటీలోనే పెట్టారు ఎగ్జామ్ మొన్న జిఎల్ఎస్ఐ సొల్యూషన్. సేమ్ నెంబర్ ఇస్తే మనం అది ఒక్క నెంబర్ వాడి అండర్ స్కోర్ వాడి చేసేస్తే వచ్చేస్తుంది. సేమ్ నెంబర్ ఇస్తే వచ్చేస్తుంది. కానీ డిఫరెంట్ డిఫరెంట్ నెంబర్స్ ఇచ్చాడు. సేమ్ నెంబర్ వాడితే అండర్ స్కోర్ వాడేసి ఆ నెంబర్ ఒక్కటి పెట్టేసి లైక్ ఆపరేటర్ అంటే వచ్చేస్తుంది.
1 రాదు. 1 నెంబర్ ఉంది రాదు.
1 నెంబర్ రాదు. ఇక్కడ నేను సేమ్ ఇచ్చానా 2, అక్కడ డిఫరెంట్ డిఫరెంట్ ఇచ్చాడు. మొత్తం 5 నేమ్స్ ఇచ్చాడు. 5 వీటిలో
డిఫరెంట్ డిఫరెంట్ నెంబర్స్ ఇచ్చాడు.
డిఫరెంట్ 5 లో 2 ఏమో నార్మల్ ఆల్ఫాబెట్స్ ఇచ్చేసాడు. ఒక 3 ఏమో ఆల్ఫా న్యూమరిక్ నెంబర్స్ ప్లస్ ఆల్ఫాబెట్స్ మిక్స్ అయింది ఇచ్చేసి కింద అవుట్పుట్ కూడా డిస్ప్లే చేశాడు పేపర్ లో. ఇలా అవుట్పుట్ రావాలంటే ఏ కమాండ్ వాడతారు అని రాయమన్నాడు. న్యూమరిక్ ఏమన్నా అలా ఫంక్షన్ ఉంటుంది. నార్మల్ గా లాంగ్వేజ్ లో అయితే పైథాన్ లో అయితే ఆల్ఫా న్యూమరిక్ అని చెప్పేసి
రెగ్యులర్ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్స్.
ఆల్ఫా న్యూమరిక్ అని ఒక ఫంక్షన్
రెగ్యులర్ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్స్ ఉంటాయి మనకు కూడా. రెగ్యులర్ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ పెట్టి మనం రైట్ సైడ్ ఏదంటే సబ్స్ట్రింగ్స్ రాదు మనకి. ఇన్స్ట్రింగ్ లో పొజిషన్స్ మనం తీసుకుంటాము.
స్టిక్ లో జస్ట్ మనకి ఏ క్యారెక్టర్ కావాలో పొజిషన్
వస్తాయి. సబ్స్ట్రింగ్ అంటే మనం ఎక్కడి నుంచి ఎక్కడ తీసుకుంటున్నామో తీసుకుంటాం.